What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Today we are having a look at the FPL template, the most owned players and squad currently going into game week 1, and maybe a few of them you can avoid and get a bit of a boost over your friends in FPL. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Today it is time to have a look at the FPL template. The FPL has passed 2 million managers signing up for the game already, and we are still over 3 weeks away from game week 1 starting. We're going to have a look at the most owned players overall, and then the most owned squad of players if you are to fit it into a little bit of your budget. Of course, 100 million, but if you had unlimited budget, you could build a better squad, of course. Before we dive in, we're going to try and hit 1,000 likes on the video. I hope you're enjoying all of preseason. We're getting closer to the start of the season, but let's dive straight into the team that we've got up on screen now. Is the most highly owned players, the most highly owned 15 players that we have in FPL at the moment. In goal, we have Ramsdale and Areola. Areola is actually the most highly owned goalkeeper in FPL at the moment, despite being a 4.0. Probably not playing goalkeeper. It is just because there is that little bit of chance that he does take the West Ham #1 starting goalkeeper spot. Next to him, I thought it would be Jordan Pickford, but it's not. It's actually Ramsdale who's the most highly owned goalkeeper at the moment at 27.7%. So in over 1 of 4 of your FPL teams. Arsenal were okay defensively, but they do have a really nice run of fixtures to start the season, which is why he has gone in here. Those two maybe not that surprising, but a couple of more surprising picks when we move further up the field. Now, in defence, Trent Alexander-Arnold is in there. He's not the most highly owned. He's actually coming in 4th as the fourth most highly owned defender in FPL at the moment at 32%. But again, we know what he can do. We saw him play for Liverpool last night, playing in that 6th position. He is looking like he's going to line up at some sort of position in midfield. Exactly what it is, we don't know, but we do think that 8 million is going to be worth it for him. The most highly owned defender in FPL at the moment is Pervis Estupiñán of Brighton. They have the best 3 opening fixtures of any defence in the league. However, from game weeks 4 to 10, they actually have the worst run of fixtures of any team from a defensive point of view in FPL. So people are looking short term, but they maybe are not considering the longer term prospects of their team. And next to him, we have Luke Shaw, currently in at 34.8%. So in 1 in 3 of your FPL teams. Was a bonus point magnet last season. I'm not surprised at just 5.5 million that he is in here. Now, the two surprises to me are the 2 Newcastle defenders that we've got in here. So we have Kieran Trippier, the highest scoring defender in FPL last season at 34%, and then Botman in at 28.7%. Now, don't get me wrong, I think these two, come the end of the season, will be some of the best defenders you could pick at their price points. But given their opening fixtures, I'm really surprised so many people are picking them. They have a horrible run of the fixtures to start the season. One of the worst over the first 5 or 6 weeks or so. Then they have European commitments that will start. I think Trippier is too expensive when you can get Estupiñán for 5 million. When you can get Luke Shaw or John Stones at 5.5 million. Trippier for me is a no-go for game week 1. Botman is a great 4.5 defender, and if you can sit him on your bench, then I understand potentially why you'll pick him. But given that most of us will wildcard in the first 6 to 8 game weeks anyway, that he'll sit on your bench for at least 50% of those game weeks. So I think he's one to reconsider on wildcard. I don't personally think he should be in the template. Moving into midfield, and this does where we start to maybe break the budget a little bit. Bukayo Saka is in there as the most highly owned midfielder in over 50% of teams. He started preseason well. There's no surprise here. Marcus Rashford, second with 42% of teams. Again, 9 million. He got a price rise from last year, but still feels underpriced. Still the main goal threat for Manchester United. No Bruno Fernandes in this team at the moment, but I do think Rashford is a great pick. Deserves his place in the template. The 2 cheap options that we've got are Matoma and Mbeumo, the 2 that are in my latest draft. There'll be another draft video coming for you all very shortly in my updated team. 37% for Matoma, the more popular one, and then Mbeumo down at 25.4. I personally think Mbeumo is actually the better pick out of the 2 because of the lack of rotation that you might see compared to Matoma, particularly when European competitions do start for Brighton. Now, the one that is a little bit of a question mark is he going to make the template is Mo Salah. This is probably the lowest we've ever seen Salah's ownership going into game week 1. 25.7% of teams currently have him in. He did get an assist in the Liverpool game last night, but there were a lot of goals for the likes of Diego Jota, for Darwin and for Gakpo, and Salah didn't get in on the goals. Is he worth the extra money over those other Liverpool assets if we're not going to put the captaincy armband on him? Because of course, Erling Haaland is going to be the man a lot of us are going to look to captain every single week at 85.8%. No surprise, and I think that will probably climb over 90% come the game week 1 deadline. Gabriel Jesus is next as the sort of template front two of Haaland and Jesus. Again, Arsenal have a really nice run of fixtures. He doesn't take up a forward spot, so I like him in there. And finally, it is Nkunku of Chelsea. 7.5 million. Exactly how he's going to set up. Is he on penalties? Is he going to play up front? Exactly where he's going to be is unknown, but he is the third most owned forward in FPL at the moment. So this is the 15 most owned players at the moment. I'm surprised that maybe Salah's so low. I'm surprised by the double Newcastle defense. I'm surprised by Nkunku in there. But this team does leave minus 11 million in the bank. So we do need to make a couple of changes to bring it down within budget. So to bring the template team down within budget, there are a few changes that we are looking to make. The first one is we sell Nkunku. Most people are setting up with a 3-5-2 formation with a 4.5 forward. Sam Surridge is the most owned 4.5 forward at 11%, although he looks like he's leaving Nottingham Forest. But 4.5 forwards are in about 1 in 3 teams. So that is the template formation, that setup that people are going with. The next thing is actually the template doesn't really have Mo Salah in. Mo Salah is 25% owned, but Bruno Fernandes at a very much cheaper price, 4 million less than Mo Salah, is in 23% of your squads. The next big downgrade is we go and remove Kieran Trippier, who I don't think should be in the template anyway, and go and bring in a 4.0 defender, and Bell at Luton Town is currently the most popular one that you were all picking. We then sell Luke Shaw and go and buy Gabriel. Again, not much difference in ownership, but it does mean that we have no Manchester United defence, although a lot of us are waiting, hopefully, to see Onana priced at 5 million. He'll be in a lot of our teams. And then a lot of you are not going for Ramsdale and are going for a 4.5 million goalkeeper. 4.5 million goalkeepers have the highest combined ownership, and Pickford is the number 1 pick at the moment in 16.7% of squads. Now, this squad does leave still minus 0.5 million in the bank, and there are a variety of places that people are looking to try and free up that little bit of money. The first one, Bruno Fernandes, comes in here. If you downgrade him to an 8 million or less in the likes of Phil Foden, in the likes of James Maddison, in the likes of Martinelli, that would free up your 0.5, and you'd be in a template. You'd have 14 of the 15 template players. The next one is selling Mitoma and downgrading him to Enciso. Again, another Brighton midfielder that I do expect to do well. Saves you $1 million there and actually gives you $500,000 in the bank. You could downgrade Gabriel Jesus and go to a 7.5 million forward in the likes of Nkunku. You could downgrade Botman and get 2 4.0 million defenders. Given that Botman's unlikely to start for you a lot of the time, you could do that. Or the final place is to downgrade Gabriel or Estupiñán to a 4.5 million defender and rotate them with Botman in there. So this is the template sort of that people are picking in terms of their 100 million budget, with maybe one additional change to free up that 0.5 million. And there are lots of places that we've just discussed to do that. I do think the template come game week 1 will look quite similar to this, but in terms of potential changes that I see between now and game week 1, I do think potentially how Chelsea perform in pre-season is going to have a big impact on that. Their run of fixtures from game week 3 onwards is really, really good. The likes of Chilwell, the likes of Reece James, Raheem Sterling, Madueke in at a cheap price as well could be a really nice option. If we see that Levi Colwill in at 4.5 million is a starting defender, he could be a really, really good pick. Plus, of course, Nkunku that we have mentioned. The next one is Liverpool. At the moment, the template doesn't really have a Liverpool attacker in it. We saw goals from Gakpo, Darwin, Jota today. Salah only getting an assist. Are people going to try and squeeze in one of those cheaper forwards or midfielders into their lineups? There are a few other places that we could potentially look to go and diversify in defence. Is Manchester City defence going to get in there? Is Mahrez going to leave the door open to Phil Foden to become a fantastic option at 7.5 million? So the template is forming. It is strong. It always is early on in pre-season. As pre-season goes and players start to score, like Jared Bowen, like the Liverpool forwards, how Chelsea perform, how Spurs perform, what happens to Harry Kane, things will inevitably change. So don't get down if you're bored already by seeing the same teams everywhere. There is going to be change between now and game week 1. Let me know, out of 15, how many of these players here you have in your current draft. Out of 15, I want to know in the comments how many you have. I think I have 13, maybe 12 of them. 13 if you include any 4.5 defender and any 4.5 forward. 13 out of 15. So hold my hands up. I put a template team out. Maybe I need to think about a few differentials. Again, differentials, let me know them. What are you changing from this template? Thank you all so much for watching. We'll be back again on Friday with another video to set you up for the weekend. And then we will be 3 weeks away from the start of the season. It cannot come soon enough. Enjoying being back. Thank you all so much for your support. Like and subscribe before you go. And I'll be back again very soon.